You are listening to Series 1 of the National Studios Film and Music Podcast. In this season, we're focusing on the marketing side of independent music, the steps you can take to ensure a successful release and begin building a fan base in an authentic and organic way. In episode 5, we look at the importance of building a creative team. Hi, my name is Jack Kircher from National Studios, and again joined by Maddy Alex.
Hey.
Burstimo. We've spoken about so many things to do with music and marketing and content creation, from digital to like how you actually release it to like the physical side of it and shows and things like that. One thing we haven't looked at is how important it is to build a team around you. The only way you can do this in a sustainable way, because you are not just creating music, you're creating everything to do with who you are as an artist. You need a good team. So if I just relate it to my experience quickly with the Dutch Kid stuff, we have a team of 6 people. That's band members, that's a manager, that's a personal manager. And we all have very distinct roles in that, which is why it works as a collective. But a lot of artists don't have that. Like, it's quite an intimidating thing to be told you're responsible for your music and how you release that, but also your film, your social media, your photos and all of that. It's a lot to take in and a lot to do if you're doing it in your spare time. So let's start the conversation on what it means to have a good team. Like, how have you guys experienced bands and the teams that people have around bands?
Traditionally, I'd say that most of the bands we work with have like 1 or 2 people we communicate with.
There's always a kind of one point person, and quite often it's not the front man.
Yeah,
it's sometimes like it's usually the drummer or the bassist, and maybe that's because they are kind of stepped back from it a little bit. But yeah, there's usually one point person that we kind of have a direct contact with, or the manager.
Yeah, we always assume that we're talking to the front man in a band if it just like a name comes through, and then it turns out no, it's the bassist, the drummer, something like that, doing more of the admin. And the other guys are kind of more fringe, even when we kind of meet in person. So Dutch Kid's a lot different. You're all individually your own people, and we kind of know you all on an equal basis, but that's not normally how it is. Normally we have a point of contact with 2 people, and the drummer or the bassist go off and do their own thing, and we chat to 2 members in the band. So that was normally how we see things, but in an ideal world, I don't think that's how it should be.
So if we were to relate this to an artist who's going about their first release, like, you want to build a team and you want to do all these things well. Like, let's just talk a little bit about the importance of each area and what it means to do that. So
I think that the first thing you should do is, like, if you're a band, that is sort of sit down and see what everyone's skill sets are, because quite often you do have full-time jobs, and those full-time jobs can actually translate into your music career as well. We find that a lot of bands we work with, a lot of the members work in marketing, so you can sort of just have your job, but also use those skills in your music career. And sometimes they're the same tactics as well. If you're doing kind of corporate marketing, you can use those skills and put them towards your brand and your band marketing. And sometimes we find that in the band there'll be a photographer, there'll be a videographer. You can use those skills within your music. Definitely. And it's not something you should say, oh, that is my normal full-time job, I should keep that separate. You should
use that. With Dutch Kid, like I play drums, but I also mix all the records. That's what I do. And I also make films. That's what the studio does. So like, we have mixing and film taken care of. Another guy, one of the front men, he writes, but he is also like an incredible film director. That's what he does as a living outside of music. So obviously our video stuff, we got 2 guys straight away. Another guy who looks after all of our tech. Like, to do a live show that's pop with like Ableton and samples and loops is really complex. He makes all of that work, but he's also a motion graphic designer, so he does our motion graphics. Like, Chris, synth guy, is like graphic design genius and does our brand. And then we've got a manager who is on it with the admin. Like, all of those different areas is all stuff that is outside. It's our jobs. It's outside of the music.
I mean, quite often that won't be the case. There are so many artists that their kind of full-time job isn't anything to do with their music. They might kind of work in something that will not be kind of beneficial at all for their music. And that's when you should definitely look at outsourcing it, because people think that, oh, we don't need a photographer, we don't need a videographer, we don't need someone helping us with kind of graphic design. But that's all building your brand. And I think creating a team around you is what can sort of be the step up from just releasing music. Because releasing music in itself, you'll need a team around you to kind of help you record, produce, master, all of that. But then you need to step outside of the music and look into how am I going to create some content. But you can start doing that by yourself. Originally, you have a phone, you can create content with that, just videos, photos. But then when you start wanting to kind of take a step up, that's when you can really look at building a kind of creative team around you.
The entire band involved as well. You can't just have one band member with a camera saying, "Come on, guys, let's do this," and they kind of put pressure on and not really play ball with it. And I think one key point is when you're putting together the team and the band, you've all got to share the same vision. I think it's so important for everyone to be working towards the same thing and have that same drive. So if you've got one band member who kind of doesn't pull their weight until you're going on tour or something, and then they start to perk up a bit, then that's not really what you want. You want a team who is able to push through those highs and lows of being in a band. When the doubt starts to set in that maybe we're not going to make it, the people who can really get together and help you push through it, because they're in it for the right reasons. They're not in it just to be kind of famous.
That's the same with the manager role as well. The manager should come into it sort of looking to grow you as an artist, build you from the ground up, and not kind of be the person that is trying to grab at any money or trying to just be the big person in this. They're the one they need to be on the same level as the artist, I think. And just helping. That is their role, to help. It's not to do anything else. It's not to grab at any chances of money or anything like that.
Or publicity. We see a lot of that. You don't want a manager who is a manager for the sake of saying they're a manager of a band and this is what I do, and then and they're off publicizing themselves. Like,
you want someone who's got the band's best interests.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they're in there with the dirt with you, kind of really like
the nitty gritty of it, and that can be really hard to find. And I don't think artists should immediately be thinking, I need a manager, because quite often you don't. The manager is the person that helps with some of the admin things. It opens up doors for you, and in the early stages, you can do that yourself.
You can.
If you fall naturally upon a manager, then take it. But I don't think you should be going out there searching for it, because
Especially
they won't always have your best interests at heart.
The music industry is a very attractive industry to be in, from the outside. To be able to say I work in the music industry is a cool thing to say, and that often attracts the wrong people into it. And what you're really looking for is someone to say, I love your music, I want to jump on board with this and help any way I can, not someone who's in it to put the music industry on their CV.
Cool. So let's take this a step back and say, you're an artist or a band. When you look at the skill set of your band, none of you are really I do film, I do photos, I can mix these records. Let's think about how, in that case, how are you going to get people as part of your team? So as a band, you're there making music effectively at the beginning for free. You're not really earning any money. It's all about the passion of doing it. So it's so important to try and find people who are passionate about making films, who are also looking for opportunity. People who you can grow together. One of our big sayings is we are going to find people who can grow with us, whether that's a mastering engineer, or that's me mixing the records, or that's a film, collaborating with a producer. We want to find people who we can grow with, rather than we could go and hire the best mixing engineer in the world and pay them $4,000 to mix our record. But what's the point in doing that? It's a common misconception that you have to pay for every service. Finding people who you can invite as a part of a team who understand your vision as an artist and you understand their vision as a filmmaker. When those things line up, you can do stuff together, and neither of you will earn money at first. But if you're both good and you both go for it, you'll grow together.
And that will happen with kind of most areas and most team members. You can actually start just as kind of friends and just building up that and starting off with them helping you, and by you growing, you're benefiting them as well. So I think it is something where you don't have to, we need a video created, and then you go online and try, and you have a 10K budget for a music video. It's just extortionate. You don't need something like that. You can find kind of a uni student that wants to build their portfolio and really likes your music. And at the end of the day, if you end up being big and he's going to be your videographer, he's going to be ecstatic. So
everybody wins.
Exactly. And I think that's something that you can do in the early stages, and you can benefit someone as much as they can benefit you.
I think that's something a lot of bands don't realize is there's a lot of videographers and content creators coming out of university right now who are very talented but have nothing to actually film, no content to find. So if you look back at university, what they actually give you, and for the content creators we've spoken to, they're working with terrible actors, they're working within very tight guidelines and marking schemes. So what they can actually do in terms of freedom and show their ability is very limited. So when you give someone the freedom to do what they want with the band, here's the content, here's the schedule, and produce something, sometimes they don't even ask for payment for that. They just want to do it.
They just want to do it. They want to be a part of the journey, part of the adventure. And I think one thing I'm always quite keen to address really early on is like just the whole like ego side of things. So if I'm working with a filmmaker, if I'm as a band working with a filmmaker, we'll talk really early and we'll make sure like neither of our egos, mine or yours, is going to get in the way of what we're making. And also if I'm a filmmaker working for another band or a mix engineer working for another band, I want to make sure like my ego doesn't get in the way of you as an artist, but as an artist you need to make sure your ego doesn't get in the way of the filmmaker. So it's really good to have really clear communication early on, especially when people are doing stuff for free, like people are doing it because they love it. That's an amazing thing. But as devil's advocate here, that can also be a really hard thing because people deeply care about every creative decision when they're really passionate. So you need to address that early. You need to talk in open terms about like what you want to get out of this.
And I think everyone in the team, no matter what their role is, should be on a similar level. So whether you are the front man of the band or you're the lighting person, all of you are needed. All of you are necessary. So it has to sort of, as you said, be discussed early on, saying no one's name is going to be at the front of this. We're all doing stuff to benefit each other. And I think that's something that is discussed straight away.
I'd call it like the push-pull dynamic of being in a band. So if you're a solo artist, one of the most frustrating things can be that you might push these ideas out, but there's no one to come against you and say, actually, maybe not. So you want to find this really healthy medium within team where if you put an idea out, like you sometimes want someone to say that, no. Like what are you thinking? Just because then you reassess yourself. And if you don't let your ego get in the way, you can then approach what they've said from a point of, that's either a really good idea, or you can push back and say, oh no, this is why I was thinking that. And the push-pull dynamic within team is really important. And that's one of the most, if you find people who get that, and they're happy to be a part of that process, then it's,
and that's really needed outside of the band as well, because sometimes as a group, if you are a group, you'll all be quite biased to the material created because you created it as a collective and you think the music is the best product you've ever made. Having a manager or like anyone else outside of the direct musical group really helps with that, because they can sort of be the outsider that says, you know what, I don't think that's your best track. And it's really hard to see that as an artist because you've created something that you think is your best possible product. So it's really good to have a team that isn't just the music makers, because they can give that outsider's perspective whilst also wanting the best for the group.
People see like confrontation and conflict within a band or within a team as a really bad thing, but usually conflict happens because people deeply care.
It's needed.
So like you need to talk about that early and make sure you both understand what's going to happen.
And there's no progression.
Creative minds will disagree, and disagreement is really good because it pushes like the best possible content to be made.
Exactly.
It doesn't let something go out without the final 5% being thought through and working really well. Like if I'm working with an artist and we're mixing something, and like I know much more about how a song should sonically sound than like most artists. But if they say, actually, like, I really feel like the vocal should be a bit louder, I'm not going to come in and say, whoa, no, but it's how it sounds. Like, I'm going to listen and I'm going to say, oh, yeah, actually, like, the vocal in this song, like, the production's amazing, but it just needs to feel a bit more personal. And what you're saying by saying, oh, I want the vocal up, isn't, I want to be heard more. It's like, actually, I want people to come into the song more and, like, feel it more and feel, like, the emotion of the lyrics.
I think it's really important as well that when you do have a team around you, that you actually listen to them, because we found very often people come to us to help market them as a band and get their music out there. And we'll be doing everything in our best interest for them. And we'll be giving them examples of what they can do, things like that. And they still will kind of sometimes disagree on things. And I think if you do have a team around you, they are doing things for the best of you and your music. So if they are suggesting things, it's not something that you should just kind of push away and say, oh, I know what's best. Especially if you're hiring someone, listen to kind of what they have to offer, because it will be for your best interest.
definitely. And I think when we first started working with you guys, like we had some good ideas on marketing stuff and a release strategy, and you guys were really helpful with saying, like, that works really well, but you maybe thought about this, and like the singles each month on the pre-release of the EP, and we were really set on doing it, and we like trusted you guys, and the release has been amazing on our last record. So like team is so important. It gives contrast to ideas, and it actually helps creativity when there's conflict. But yeah, team is really important, and I think that's a really good way to end this series.
Definitely.
Definitely.
We talked about a lot, the content and the Spotify side of it and the marketing side, and to end on building a good team, whether it's with your marketing guys or your film guys. Or, I think it's a good round trip.
Cool.
So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks.
No,
We
thank
may do
you.
another season of this because it feels
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
really good.
to-
But yeah, if you guys have got any questions, if we do a season 2, we can maybe start with a Q&A. So
Yeah,
if you have any
definitely.
questions or any practical bits, or even parts where you disagree, like we can be wrong on stuff. We're just saying
Absolutely.
sometimes
Just
our
our
ideas
opinion.
and sometimes stuff that's factually backed up. So we like conversation. So you can shoot us an email or reply when you're on the podcast stream. Cool. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.